Alright guys, it's Nikolai. In this video I want to do a total and honest breakdown of my entire journey. It's going to be a very honest video. It's going to show all of my personal failures for the past many years. I'm going to show and tell you some moments that I've never told online before. All hopefully to inspire you, but more importantly, actually, so you can just copy what I've done and do the same. If you don't know me, in the past 2.5, 3 years now, I've done collectively with my e-commerce brands over 17 million euros. And so yeah, I've done pretty well in the past couple of years, but I'm really doing this to give you the steps, hopefully the blueprint, so you can just copy me. And I realize you might not be able to achieve the same, but nevertheless, just if you're able to achieve something similar, something still like €1 million a year, that's still great. Hopefully you will get some value out of this video. So I have written down here on my notepad a bunch of notes about my journey, because honestly, it has been a very long ride. And I know for most of you guys, you probably first heard of me in the last couple of weeks or months perhaps. But and that's the thing here, it might very often seem like an overnight success. It really isn't. I've been grinding out for the past many years. So I think let's just get straight into it. And actually we need to go back to the summer of 2016. Back then, I was only 16 years old. And this was where my entire journey of being an entrepreneur started. So when I was on my way to high school, and I just remember this, like this is perhaps my most memorable moment in my entire life for some reason, because I just remember it so visually that when I was on my way to school, walking from my home to the school when I was 16 years old, I really felt like things were going great for me personally. I loved life, I enjoyed it a lot, but simultaneously, I just realized that for my parents, for all of the grown-up people I knew, money and working, going to a job, it meant so much to them. And so I just remember it's almost like something clicked in my mind, like from one minute to the other, wow, I also have to kind of crack this code of how to make money. And from that point on, from that walk to school, that's actually how I decided, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to try and see if we can make some money in another way. Honestly, just, to see, can we become rich? Because I just realized from all of the grown-up people around me, they were always talking about how much they hated their job or how much they didn't have money to do this or that. And so I really just realized it was time for me to get started, to try and make some money of my own. So of course, like many other young entrepreneurs, I started a clothing brand when I was 16 years old. Basically, I went onto Alibaba, I bought some basic samples and t-shirts, got them shipped to my address in Denmark, and then I reached out to a local woman in our town who usually printed kind of these prints on the back of soccer shirts, football shirts. That was kind of her job, and so I wrote to her, I think I called her actually. Listen, can you help me do anything here? Can you help perhaps make a print on my hoodies and t-shirts? I'm trying to start a clothing brand. I also got a lot of help from my mom here, because obviously I was only 16 years old, so I couldn't create a legal entity. So she helped me with that. But I created it all, made the website, and thought, like most of you perhaps also have thought from time to time, wow, once I publish this, I'm going to be so rich. That's at least what I thought. But it definitely weren't the case. I launched everything and I got 0 sales, absolutely 0 sales, complete failure. And then after like a couple of weeks, I tried posting about my brand. I went and did a sponsored post in a clothing group in Denmark, and I got 2 orders, like 100 euros worth of orders. So basically that business was a huge failure, but I learned a lot. Most importantly, I think it was the first time in my life when I learned how little I knew. It just really realized to me, wow, there's so much more to this game than just creating a logo, creating products, and creating a website. So I created that. Then fast forward 6 months, I needed to go onto a new school, and I prioritized being kind of more social in that period. So I chose to close my clothing brand. And then, like you will see this in the story, then I found a new project. And for me at the time, it was trading. I saw this guy online. Maybe you guys have seen him as well. He's called Ricky Gutierrez, I think. But like when I was 17 years old, which is 5 years ago, I found him online and I just saw, wow, this guy seemed to have made such a huge amount of money. And he had all these YouTube videos teaching about trading and all that stuff. So I thought, all right, let's try and become a day trader. It seemed like a cool title as well. So I just delve completely into that world. And for some of you guys who have been in touch with that world, you know it's absolutely brutal. Most importantly, what happened in that period to me is that I had absolutely no money. And that's not like you shouldn't feel bad about me, because it was a decision I made myself from that walk to school, where I realized that I didn't want to kind of be in the same position as the grown-up people. I chose, all right, I need to make money on my own terms. So basically in my life, I haven't had a regular job like almost any time, which also meant that I didn't have any savings at all. So when I was in that new school, people used to go to the gas station and shop for candy in the breaks or buy some food. I didn't, because I didn't have the money, and that was just how it was. So I started trading, and keep in mind, I probably had like maybe 2,000 euros to my name. And I would usually do trades. Each trade would be like maybe 50 euros a trade that I could win or lose. So it was just absolutely brutal for me, because like when I lost a trade, I felt like boom, 50 euros washed down the drain, it's gone. And it was like, seriously, it was so much money to me. It was so much money to me. So that was a huge period in my life, and it actually went on for 2 years almost, because I just continued, kept learning. And that's one thing you'll find about trading. People always say that if you aren't succeeding, then your mindset simply aren't good enough. And yeah, to me, I think that's some absolute bullshit. I think trading now, looking back, is just gambling for grown-up people. It isn't a real business. It simply isn't. I realized that too late, honestly. But luckily for me, it was actually a blessing in disguise. And that's because when I was trading the US markets, which meant that I would typically put on a trade in the evening, then go to sleep, and then wake up, and then I would either have made some money or lost some money. And I just remember like a period of almost a year where every day I would wake up, and the first thing I would do is I would go out and pull up my breakfast, start eating, and then check my trade from the night before. And like, just like almost every single day or every second day, it was a loss. Then every third day it was a win. And I thought to myself, every time I won a trade, I thought, wow, I've cracked the code now. Now I know what to do. But it was just such a turbulent time, and that really pushed me mentally, and my psychology got pushed so much back then, because it was so difficult for me to wake up, and like the first thing I saw in the morning was just, okay, lost another 50 euros, back working on becoming a day trader again. Now, one crucial thing here, and that's almost one of the most important lessons perhaps for this video, is that looking back, that was perhaps one of my largest blessings in disguise in my entire life so far. Because even though it was such a tricky period for me, and you could almost say wasted 2 years of my life trying to succeed in a business model that just weren't reasonable, it honed my mental strength so much. Still to this day, since I've gone through all of that, I feel like nothing, absolutely nothing can affect me mentally, because I went through all of that stuff back then. One thing I also realized, which I wrote down here, is that like maybe 1.5 years into my trading journey, I was strongly considering quitting, because I thought, wow, I've spent so much time and I'm seeing absolutely like zero results, like zero. And so I thought, all right, do we want to quit here? And what I actually realized when I sat down and had that consideration was that, wow, until this point, really, I hadn't ever in my life given up on something. And so it just occurred to me that maybe if I quit now, I will get into a habit of quitting. And that was such a huge lesson to me, and I'm almost quite proud to sit here and say that I had that reflection, because if you get into that mindset, it's just so dangerous, so dangerous. Getting into the mindset of always quitting once you're facing challenges or issues. And I just realized that, all right, so really, if I quit now, then chances are when I want to do a new project, I will also try to quit then. So I chose, we won't quit, we will keep pushing. And so I did. I kept pushing, and I actually kept trading until I stumbled upon eCommerce. So you can say in many ways, in many ways in my life, eCommerce was my large savior. It saved me so many times over and over. So fast forward, in high school, I found a classmate who was also very interested in entrepreneurship. So we had a bunch of different projects. We built a software. I tried building an app for the iPhone. We built a car pricing comparison platform. We were in at a Danish company called Auto. We worked there for a summer, me and my friend, because we were just so interested in entrepreneurship, in all of the people succeeding with new businesses. So we did a lot for that period of high school. And once again, of course, nothing worked. Looking back, we weren't consistent at all. Like, it was 1 or 2 months for a project, then onto the next one, then onto the next one. So that was the main reason why we didn't succeed. Because honestly, the guy I did it with was so clever as well, still is to this day. So we could probably have succeeded if we just had stuck to the plan. Once again, looking back, a huge blessing in disguise, which is 2020. All of you guys can probably remember it when COVID hit. So for me, I was in my final year of high school, and we were all sent back home. At this time, I was still trading. I still hadn't made any money from trading, even though I had spent, at this point, 2, maybe 3 years trading, not gaining anything from it. But for me, I got suddenly, when COVID hit, even though we had online school, I had so much time on my hand, just so much time. And so I thought, like I've done many times before in my life, I want to learn something new with all of this time. And that's also, if you've got the trade right now as you're watching this video, if you're just always kind of curious about how stuff works and want to learn new stuff, that is such a powerful trade. Perhaps it's one of my best trades as well, honestly, because like many times over and times again, I've just been so fascinated with new stuff, whether it was learning to play the guitar, whether it was trying to develop an app solving a Rubik's Cube. And I guess you can hear from those traits as well that, I am quite a nerd in some ways, because I just love learning that new stuff that a lot of people don't know how to do. With that said, I went onto YouTube and I found this video from a guy called Hesse. And if you're into the ecom space, you've probably heard of him. In my opinion, one of the goats of YouTube and e-commerce. I stumbled upon his video and I think Hesse, he's like 2 or 3 years younger than me. And he posted a video about how much money he had made. And I just thought, what is going on here? This guy is 2 or 3 years younger than me, and he is printing money, like printing it. And I've just always had that mindset of like, wow, I know this guy, he might be better than me in this area, but it definitely isn't like he's got twice the IQ of me. Definitely. Like, he might be smarter than me as well, but he hasn't got two brains. He's only got one. So after all, like, chances are he hasn't even got an edge on me. He has just put in time and effort. So I realized, all right, if he is able to do it, and still to this day, I thought to myself, and I wonder if the numbers he told, they were even true. That was my feeling at the time. Of course, now I know, and a lot of you guys are also reacting like that when I show some of my numbers, because I understand that if you aren't into this ecom business world, it can seem almost like it doesn't make sense in one's mind that somebody that young in such a short amount of period can make that much money. So I also thought, well, is this even true? But still, I thought, all right, let's try and solve this ecom thing. So I saw all the videos I could find online about YouTube. Also saw a guy called Dan Bass, all about e-commerce, dropshipping, that stuff. So I created my first ever ecom brand called Knowledge Canvas. And this was 3-4 years ago. And like 4 days into that brand, I got my first sale. And slowly, actually, the store started doing better and better numbers. My only issue, though, were that the bottom line, meaning the profits, weren't kind of sticking together with the revenue. So I would make more and more revenue, but the profits wouldn't increase. And that's because, at the time, I didn't know all about ecom, which I do today. So the store just had some flaws. But with that said, it enabled me, because the store was just like going break even. So it enabled me to have a store running that I could learn a lot on, and I could improve a lot on. Because I saw all of these guys around the world, like Hesse and all of these other YouTube ecom people, doing crazy numbers within a week. And they made all of these videos like, I made 10,000 euros in a week. And I thought, all right, I'm sitting here and I just had 4 sales in a week, made perhaps 500 euros. And so I thought to myself, probably I have to upskill myself, because if they can do such great numbers, it seems like I'm missing a link here. What's going on? So I took it upon myself to develop my ecom skills, like to 10 out of 10 in every single area of ecom. First, I went on to how you can create the best possible ecom sites. I read all the books I could find online, all the podcasts, started following all of the top people in the industry, all about how you can optimize your conversion rate on your store. And that's the percentage of people who go onto your ecom store that buy your product. So I did that for a couple of months. I bought a course from also a YouTuber called Chase Chappell. He mentored me in some time on how to do top Facebook ads as well. So I really took that period and spent all the time developing myself. So then I went back to the store and I now felt like, all right, my skills are 10 out of 10. So surely now this thing should take off. But it didn't. It just didn't. And I was sitting back and I felt, well, this is so strange because I know my store is better than like all the other YouTubers I see online. My ads are better. So why isn't it that I'm not getting these results? And so I realized, all right, the final link it could be, that's the product. So I went back to the drawing board and I chose to test some more products. After all, I had only created that one brand called Knowledge Canvas, and it was just posters that I dropshipped, very basic. So I thought, okay, let's test some new products. And so I did. I found one new product, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different products actually in the end that I tested on a period of like 6 months, and neither of them worked, neither. So I was now once again sitting back. I had spent so much time working on ecom, so much time, and I spent also quite a bit of money testing these products. And like, keep in mind, still at this point, I didn't have much money. Yeah, so I was stressed here in this moment. And once again, like, even though my store Knowledge Canvas, which I mentioned to you, ended up actually doing $250,000 Danish kroner in revenue, like 35k euros, that were just zero profits. And so once again, I can see now that this was a huge blessing in disguise, because that period where I didn't see any results, it forced me to level up my game. It forced me to learn so much more about ecom and develop myself. And that's really, I think, one of my best learnings here, that like when you're facing issues or challenges, like almost 10 out of 10 times for me, when I now look back, they have all been blessings in disguise, because even how bad the challenge have been or the issue, it has forced me to become better and to learn more. And I think that's just absolutely crucial. And that should be one of your key takeaways here. So if you're in that period right now where you're facing those issues and you, for some reason, you can't crack the code, just remember that this might actually be a blessing in disguise, because chances are you should hopefully be developing your skills at this point of your life. Also a key factor here is that I had done this and I had only tried selling products in the US, all of these products, 7 different products, and in a time span of 6 to 8 months, they were only in the US. And that's because I just saw all of the YouTube people advertise on the US as well. So I thought, yeah, well, surely should I advertise in the US when that's all they're doing as well. But what I realized when I was doing that is that there were a lot of brands in Denmark, where I'm originally from, and that were performing well, like really well. And I just saw that they had one single thing in common, all of the brands doing well in Denmark, and it was that they were actual great products. and now it's so obvious to me, but at the time, all the products I sold, they were those typical shitty dropshipping products. All those gimmicks, like electric products that should stimulate your leg muscles to remove pain, all that, yeah, bullshit. And so I realized that, and something just once again clicked in my mind, and I said, all right, let's now try to take a completely different approach, which with all we've learned. And so I closed down all of my US stores, and at this point we are in August 2021, and I chose, all right, let's try and go to Denmark. Let's try and create an actual great store that actually provides a great experience for customers. And so I did, and I tested 2 new products. Neither of them worked. And then finally, for the first time in my life so far, I found a profitable product, a profitable business model. And of course, it was with ecom. I found the weighted blankets, which ended up becoming Scandinavian Rest, which, yeah, some of you might know already. But before we move on here, like, please just keep in mind that even though I know I all the time say that I went from 0 to 15, 16, 17 million euros in 2.5, 3 years, which I did, there were so many years of effort before that, like so many years. There were 9 failed products before I found that one product that just took it all to the moon. And I think that's crucial, because I see people all the time, and I was one of them myself in the beginning. I considered quitting after having tested like 1 or 2 products. I really did. But once again, I stuck onto that realization I had with trading, where I thought, all right, we can't just quit, because we will become a quitter for the rest of our life, somebody that runs away from problems. And I just didn't want that for me. So yeah, I found Scandinavian Rest, and things just absolutely took off. It was such a crazy experience. Yeah, we had a 7x ROI, a ROAS of 7, like within the first day. And for all of you that know ecom, you know that's sick, and the ROAS just continued becoming better and better and better. And so that meant when you've got an ROI of 7, for every 1 krona or 1 euro I would put into my advertising, I would get 7 back. And as you can probably see, that's actually a money printing machine. And it was a money printing machine. It works so ridiculously. And so for the first time, since I started in 2016, 5 years, and now obviously for some of that period I worked more relentlessly on succeeding. But since I had my first project until I found the first thing that worked, it took me 5 years. And so that's a huge takeaway as well. And it definitely shouldn't take you 5 years for all of you, but just kind of get that in your mind that you aren't a failure just because you've tried succeeding with ecom in 2 or 3 months and you've tested 2 or 3 products. Like, come on, if you really want this, then you need to apply yourself to a totally different level. And one of the main reasons why Scandinavian Rest, my first brand, absolutely popped off so much, it was because I had honed in my skills so much. I knew exactly what I should do with the store and the branding when I found that great product, because of the challenges I had with my first ecom brands. So hopefully you can see how it all goes back and connects you with your challenges. And so in December, I created another brand called Babyloon. And actually, I had a breakdown around this time. I had become way too busy, way too busy, and I was spending all of my time working on my brands because I just really so badly wanted to succeed. But I became way too busy, and I had a huge breakdown like one day when my mom came into my room and told me I had gotten a 1-star Trustpilot review. And so after that breakdown, I decided, all right, it is time to get some employees. This isn't fun. It isn't fun doing all of the stuff in your ecom business by yourself. And so like a week after, I had my first ever employee, and she did a great job, had worked with us from that time until the time where I sold my brand, 1.5 months ago, and she's still working on it now. So that was incredible. I ended up doing 300,000 euros in just like 2 or 3 months with Scandinavian Rest, which was life-changing to me. I had never seen that amount of money ever before, and I almost still couldn't believe it. And I just always went around with the feeling that things should surely go bad soon, because I just had that like feeling that this is way too good to be true. Luckily for me, those things didn't go bad. We continued performing, which I'm just so grateful for. So in March 2022, I created yet another ecom brand called Fine Smile. I found a toothbrush online, and what was interesting here is that it has almost the exact same numbers as Scandinavian Rest in the beginning. And so I just knew, all right, goddamn, we're onto a new winner here again. And we ended up being a huge success with Fine Smile as well. That store had done, like, until I sold it, around 25 million Danish kroner, which 4 million euros, I think, around that mark. So that was crazy, and I scaled ads and the brands to the moon for the next couple of 1.5 years. Just doing nothing but besides that. And also in March 2022, I had my first, like, a really big moment for me, and that was because I was on a weekend in Germany with my parents, and my stores had done extremely well, but I hadn't gifted myself or treated myself with anything up to that point. But I was on that weekend and my brands were doing so well, like I think above 100k Danish kroner a day, above 15k euros a day. And so I thought, all right, it's time to treat myself. And I remember so visually that I went into a Zara in that German city we were in, and I just absolutely took everything off the shelf that I wanted. I went in and I spent, like, not sure, perhaps 2,000 euros, and I felt like the king of the world. That was such a huge moment for me, because that was my first time really kind of seeing some of the fruits from my labor. I had to, and honestly, up to that point, and I know this can sound weird, I hadn't bought any new clothes for myself personally for like a period of 4 years almost. Both because I was working so much on my business, but also because I feel like I hadn't deserved it. And in the beginning I didn't have the money either. So that was such a huge moment for me. One of the most perhaps interesting parts in my story here is the summer of 2022. This was when I went from having a basic ecom brand to a very large one. And I had a huge crisis because my parents wanted to go to the US for the summer of 2022. And so I knew this was my time to absolutely crush my brand. This was my time to perform. So I decided I still wanted to join my parents, even though it was a terrible, terrible timing. But I decided if I joined, then I should focus on the most important aspects of my business, which at the time were nailing content and ads. And so I did that. Keep in mind, I had 2 live stores at this time, Scandinavian Rest and Fine Smile. And what happened here is something, it was so crazy, so crazy. Because in May till June, we doubled our revenue. We went from like 800,000 Danish kroner a month to 1.6 million Danish kroner a month. And that's like, from 100k, 120k euros to 240k euros in a month. Just like, boom, scaled so much. And then from June till July, we doubled again. We did it again. Then we went from 240 euros a month to 480,000 euros a month. Almost 3 million Danish kroner a month. Like in 3 months. And it was so sick to me, so surreal. I was going from having solid ecom brands to now sitting with such a huge volume. And in August, we grew another 20%. And then in September, a slight dip. October, we grew again. And then, of course, November came up, which is the largest period for ecom brands. And like we ended up doing, I think almost 800k that month. So as you can see, that period of my life, it was just insane. My brands were growing so much. And that's really also a testament to all of the challenges I had before. Once you then crack the code, things will take off just so rapidly. It was surreal. So in 2022, actually totally, I ended up making around 5 million euros in that year, which was unheard of. I had never heard of anyone going from 0 to 50 million euros in 1.5 year at my age. So fast, it was surreal. And so in November that year as well, I had my first luxury experience ever as well. I was in quite a large mansion in Spain with some other ecom people, and it was so cool getting to meet other people as well. And because for that period, I just spent all my time by myself grinding it out on my childhood room at my parents' house. And so really, I think for 2023, I just continued scaling the brands, doing what I needed to do. I traveled a lot, and we did extremely well because, as you know, I have done within 2.5 years those 15 million euros. So therefore in 2023, we did around 10 million euros, which was, so sick. And all while I traveled a lot because now I had the money to do it. I went on 12 different trips that year. Experienced seeing the world, working from my laptop, the absolute dream. I felt so privileged. I moved away from home, got my dream apartment in Aarhus. I'll throw up some pictures for you, maybe here. It was so beautiful, that apartment. Surreal. Then I got a very interesting call in the summer of 2023, a call from Isho, and Isho said to me, all right, Nikolai, I'm working with this client who's doing extremely well with ecom, and we've got this course. He's doing well, but I feel like there's more to this. And he actually pitched me the idea of exposing my framework to other people. And when he did that, I thought, stop. I'm doing very well here on my own. I don't want to do anything new. I just want to keep all of my secrets to myself and keep printing money. But he actually convinced me to, for the first time in my life, do a partnership with someone else. But more importantly, step into this world as I'm doing right now as well, teaching others to succeed as well with ecom. And that's when Scaling With Ecom, my mentorship program, was created, because at the time of 2023, I employed a lot of people. So my business was almost running on autopilot, So I actually had the time to sit down for 6 months and just absolutely write everything down I've learned about ecom, all those past learnings, all that I did to take my brand from 0 to 50 million euros. So we did that. And one of the main reasons I also did it was definitely because I had some huge issues about the current people in the ecom space. There are so much bullshit out there. People that try and seem like experts that haven't achieved anything that difficult. People who have maybe done 1 or 2 million in revenue, or people who haven't even done it. People who have done in Denmark, there's and Scandinavia, there are a few people, gurus, ecom experts that have done 100 to 200k in revenue. And it made me very frustrated because I just remember my period of trying to succeed. And if I were a beginner and I would have followed their advice, once again, it would have been extremely difficult for me to succeed because I also saw a lot of these people's programs. So yeah, in late 2023, we launched our mentorship program, Scaling With Ecom, which some of you might have heard of. It got received extremely well. And one of the main things why I did so well was because in Denmark, all of your figures from your company, if you've got a large enough company, they will be publicly available. So that's, of course, a huge trust. People could literally just look me up on the Danish register for companies. They could write Nikolaj Petersen, find my companies, see my profits for all of the year. And they could see the insane growth I had. And there's absolutely no way to fake those numbers. And so that was a huge reason why I think people loved our mentorship program, and it still is to this day. Fast forward to today, I moved to Dubai in the beginning of 2024. I'm living here now, sitting in my office here. And yeah, I feel so privileged. We are continuing to learn a lot of other people about ecom. I'm spending my time personally with all of my members on a weekly basis, and yeah, I just love seeing other ecom people succeeding, because I just always remember, like when I was starting out, there really were no role model who had done great and solid numbers in ecom in Scandinavia. There just weren't anyone I could relate to. And so my largest hope, and the reason I'm doing all of this, is to hopefully be that role model for you guys, and also with this journey, give you some insight so you can copy me, as I said in the beginning. And it's not sure you're going to do the same numbers. Maybe for some of you, you will be able to do the same or even better numbers. That's not the important thing here. The important thing here, I think the main takeaway should just be that when you face challenges, embrace them. And I know it can be so difficult when you're in that moment and facing challenges, but really embrace them. But more importantly, don't expect to succeed within like 1 or 2 months. You can with the correct help. And of course, if you're working with someone who have really done it before, but if you're trying to do it on your own, and also just in general in business, you need to apply yourself, and you shouldn't quit just because you're facing some adversity. So with that said, I really hope you gain something out of this video. I want to do more of this stuff if you guys like it. After all, I'm only trying to provide value. So definitely let me know if you enjoyed it, and if you did, please like and subscribe so we can push this content out to more people. See you.